Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Racing Lanes podcast. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad. I will be joined here shortly by my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. Tonight, we're supposed to have a guest on. I'm not sure. We were looking to see if if our messages didn't get crossed up, but we without any further ado, as they always say, the show must go on. So we are coming to you live and direct. I need for you guys to do me a huge favor. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video and to the channel. That helps us get the videos and the channel out to a broader audience, helps us get it into the algorithm. So if you would do us a huge favor in liking and click the bell to get notified when we go live, and you'll get notified when we upload new content. Every time we do it, you'll be one of the first ones to get a notification when we get ready to upload new content. So please, by all means, hit the bell notifications, and we're looking forward to starting off the show. But tonight, I wanted to talk to you guys. Let me go ahead and welcome in my co-host. Get ready. I think he's ready to come up and on board with us. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
Well, we're doing great, Rico. A little smoky up here in Canada from the forest fires. I did hear from our guest, Bruce Outridge. Can you send him another link?
I see him. I see him right there in the background. He's up and on board with us.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, things are. There he is.
Let me see. I don't know if we got his audio yet.
How's that? You got me now?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute. Go ahead, Rico. I didn't want to interrupt your
live and in stereo. Well, tonight our special guest, ladies and gentlemen, is Bruce Outridge. Bruce has his own kind of like radio network. Bruce, tell us a little bit about the network you got going on over there.
Guys, waiting for the rates first. You were about to go into your report. You want to finish your report?
No. We don't do the reports as much as we used to anymore because somebody came along with a bigger, better mousetrap. So we just try to go right into what the proceedings this evening.
Okay, well, happy to have you. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Great to have you back, man. It's missed having you.
Always fun talking with you guys. We've got some big announcements, but to answer your question, Rico, we've got the Lead Pedal podcast. We've got Lead Pedal Radio, which is the event entertainment side of it, and Lead Pedal Media, which is event coverage. All three of those are our own network, I guess, if you want to call it that.
They are definitely a network.
Yesterday, we reached 1,000 episodes on our podcast, so we are just stoked. We've got a whole...
Congratulations on that.
Congratulations.
So the thing I wanted to the direction I wanted to kind of go in tonight with you a little bit, Bruce, was, you got a lot of people out there that have been trucking for a while, and of course, we know you got a trucking background as well, and you were able to transition from being in the transportation industry and transitioned over to taking the passion that you had in the transportation industry and redivert it and repackage it and kind of come up with a whole nother second career almost, or a third career.
Fourth, I think I'm on a lot.
and so I was interested in tonight maybe picking your brain about, because, in trucking and transportation, as we all know, we got some characters in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
And there are definitely some people from all walks of life, from former professors to people, maybe, as lowly as an old street vagrant that just said, hey, instead of just living out here on the street, maybe I need to go to CDL school and learn how to drive a truck or something like that and do something with my life. But it runs the gamut in our industry of all different types of people. And I'm just interested to kind of pick your brain as far as, if someone is in a position in life in the transportation industry right now, and they're thinking about maybe trying to find a transition, how to transition out and to do something else. Kind of, if you don't mind, give us a layout, a blueprint on how you decided to make that transition and where you how you made the transition and what made you what kind of gave you that vision to go in the direction that you went in.
Well, picking my brain, this might be a 10-minute show, Rico.
I doubt it, man. I spent way too much time with you.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you're gonna have that kind of time. But to answer your question, I gotta tell you, and I don't. People think this big, brain thing I had to plan all. I didn't. I just was trucking. I love trucking. I did it for 25 years. What got me out of the truck is I became the boss, and I had a goal of 25 years driving. And then I thought there's other things I want to do. I became the supervisor of our fleet, and I thought that's where I wanted to go. In fact, that's where I was going. I was on that track for being kind of the Canada here as far as the company I was working with at the time. The problem,
was that a carrier or was that an actual manufacturer at that point?
It's both. It's a private carrier, right? So
okay. Right.
Company, and they made their own products, but we had our own private fleet. So I was in charge of the guys in Burlington and in Montreal, and I had another guy out west, and they were building a bigger fleet out in Edmonton, which they built now, which the guy that I trained is now in charge of that, and he's got like 30 or 40 drivers or something, so he's done very well there. But I thought that's where I wanted to go, and you'll quickly learn. And to answer your question, the how I got that job and what I tell everybody is to keep yourself educated. So the answer to your question, in short form, educate yourself. You mentioned we got a lot of characters in this industry, and we do, and they're fun-loving people. They're great to be around. It's always a laugh. But at the end of the day, if you're driving up and down that road for 30, 40 years, whatever, and you're getting to that age of 50, 60 years old, if you have not started learning something else, started a business on the side, whatever it might be, you're going to find you're going to get to a point where maybe you can't drive because of medical reasons. Yeah. Maybe you don't want to drive just because, we all get tired of the road. And you're looking for something to do. And if you try to start out at zero, I've got to tell you, I've seen people sitting in docks for 8 hours and they just sit there looking out the window and I go, why aren't you reading a book? Why aren't you listening to a podcast? Why aren't you doing something? You could take an online course these days and have a degree in an MBA by the time you get out of the truck in 5 years, right? So there's no reason to not learn something. And that's what gets you going for the future. So when I transitioned out, I was going to be the supervisor. And I thought that's what I want to do. Found out that managing people was not my thing. I'm a very good entrepreneur. I'm a terrible manager. I expect you to do your job. I don't want to have to babysit you. So that's what makes me a bad manager in my books. I enjoyed the trucking part of it. So I quit. You want to transition? Quit your job, six-figure job. Just quit your job and go do something else. Start an art business. That impresses everybody when you tell them that. And I think I just need a break. I did do that. I did start an art business for 2 or 3 years, and I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm willing to try this for a year. If I don't have any customers in a year, I will go back trucking. I still got my license to this day. But you make it work. And then 3 years later, I found out I got all this knowledge of driving. And then I started kind of in the consulting, started doing some training, found out about media, found out about podcasts. This is all accidental. There's no plan. I just fell into it. But I'm the kind of person, if I go, hey, what's a podcast? I remember, and I don't know if you know Pat Flynn. He's probably one of the big podcast guys in the industry, not necessarily trucking, but in the industry in general. When I found him, I think I was up till 2 a.m. listening to podcasts and reading. You mean you can do this? I didn't even know I was going to start a video channel of kind of my expertise. And here we are 1,000 episodes later. So,
wow, what a story.
You just got to go. Like, I'm the kind of person, if you say, Bruce, I will give everything a year. If it doesn't work in a year, I'm willing to trash it, but I will give it a year, even if it's not making a dime, even if it's more work than I want to be, I will give it that. And then I will, and so some stuff sticks and you kind of refine and refine and refine. You start realizing what people are asking you to do, to help out with. And there you go.
It's so true, because everything you go to do takes time and you have to be patient. It's like a tree. You have to nurture it. And unfortunately, the younger generation they're so used to everything being instant. And it's not their fault. They've been conditioned.
Yeah.
I'm from the school where when you turn the television on, not remotely, but turn the thing on with your 2 fingers, you had to wait until the tubes warmed up.
We were fitter back then because we actually had to get off the couch to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's fascinating to hear, and I kind of, and that's the reason I wanted to. So how did you just said had to grab the bull by the horns and just said to hell with it and went head on into it. I mean, because I want to try to inspire our audience that's listening in to let them know that you're not necessarily pigeonholed into just driving a truck if you got other aspirations, and not trying to force people out of the industry, of course, but I want people to be able to think outside of the box about all the different things that they may bring, the different things that they bring and the value that they could deliver to someone else just by the knowledge base that they have, and how you can transition and make that valuable in another form or another facet.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, like I said, there's no grand where it changed for me. It's funny because if people go, well, how'd you get started? People ask me all the time, how'd you start your art business? Well, get a divorce. How'd you become, because that's what actually happened. I went through a divorce in my 30s. I did not have my grade 12. I'm the 17-year-old that dropped out of college, or dropped out of high school, not college, dropped out of high school, got a job in a movie business by choice, humping furniture. That's what I did, because my dad said, you're not staying home if you're not going to go to school, you go out. His philosophy was rent started the next day if you're not going to school. You could live there till ever, but as soon as you were not going to school, you paid rent.
That's more than fair.
Yeah, and so that was very fair. It was $25. I probably still live there now, but he said, you're doing something, and he said, you're not allowed to stay home while I'm not home. He dropped me off at a coffee shop. So if you think of a 17-year-old back in the 70s, that lasted about 3 days. I did get a job walking encyclopedias. You guys don't even know what that is.
Oh yeah. Was that Encyclopedia Britannica?
Yeah, it was. I got the job, but then I found out you had to wear a suit, and I never went back for the first day. And then I fell into the moving industry, and I found the driver was making more money. I liked the freedom of going to a different place every day and being on the trucks and all of that. I didn't know anything about trucking. There was no grant. So fast forward to the divorce back in the 30s. Now I've been trucking for like 18, 20 years at that point. Got a good job. I'm at the chemical company. I'm one of the drivers doing well. And I get a divorce, and I start thinking, I went through counseling, and they said, finish what you didn't start. Well, one of those things was grade 12, right? Like just basic grade 12, nothing important. And so I went to here in Burlington, and I don't know why more people are not doing this. They have what they call continuing education. You can go to almost any high school. And the rule back then was you had to attend class 6 hours a week, and you had to hand in your assignments on regular time, but it was $35 a year to get in. Wow. And you get as many credits. I needed 4 credits. I went to that school for 5 years because I not because I'm slow, but I took the credits, and they allowed me to take what I wanted. So I took things like creative writing. I didn't even write. I failed English. I didn't write. One of my other ones was business English. One was entrepreneurship. And I had really good teachers who just said, you know what? Hey, I remember the entrepreneur course. It was all about logistics. I said, look, I've been trucking for 20 years. I know this stuff already. He said, well, why don't, at the time Palm Pilot was coming out, he said, why don't you make me a commercial about a Palm Pilot, which is basically like our phones today. And so it allowed me to use my drawing skills, which I'd been drawing since I was 10. It allowed me to try to figure out PowerPoint back in the day. How does that work? And I made him a commercial. I got 100% in the course.
Wow.
And I started taking courses just like creative. Now I write for other companies, but back then part of the course was, can you get an article published? And I managed to get an article published while I was in the course. One was about taking movies. I thought, this is school, watching a movie, and you had to pick out all the different camera angles from close-ups to, far off shots. And I'm going, this is cool. This isn't what I remember when I was right. So I went back, and I graduated. So I graduated. I got the presidential award, and right then we were looking for one of the drivers. So there's 4 of us that joined the same day at our company. And they said, okay, one of them, we're going to make you guys, one of you are going to be the supervisor. And I put all my cards behind the other guy. So if you picture all 4 guys, everybody's got 20 plus years experience. There's no, we got hired the same day, so there's no seniority. We all have the same amount of experience. So there's no, you only have a year. Everybody has 20 plus years of driving experience already. Right. We're hauling chemicals. We've been doing the job for 5, 6, 7 years. And they said, you know what, we need somebody. And the guy that I put my cards to was the oldest guy in the group. And we said, I believe he can do the job. Here's the problem. I had gone back to school and learned computers. If you think computers just came out, the guy that we all wanted to have the job did not want to do anything with computers. Right then, all of our reports, our dispatch, all of that was going computerized at the same time. So what do? They put the youngest guy in, because I am the guy who had gone back to school and learned computers, and I was helping everybody out trying to figure out how to fill out their expense reports and all of that. Our whole system went computerized almost within a year, because we brought in some big system that most big companies have. I forget what it's called now. It was a German system. Anyway, it ties everything together. So everything's done online now, as opposed to paper, which is what we were doing. And he couldn't handle it. And he ended up retiring, and that's how I got the job. So I lasted 3 years in that position, and then found out I was having a lot of trouble with my team. The team liked me. I think I had a couple of people that were instigators, and I'm not very good at dealing with that stuff. It's like, just do your job. So that's what I decided, you know what, I don't want to do this for the next 20 years, and I quit. They didn't want me to quit. I quit and just said, I'm going on my own way.
How many people were you managing, Bruce?
I had 10 at one location. I had 2 at another location. And you know what? The problem with it is we were all very experienced. People get entitled. 30 years of driving, people go, I'm not doing that anymore. You know, we can't get to Kingston in 5 hours. Yes, you can. Everybody can, right? So it's kind of that kind of thing. And I just felt there was a couple that were stirring the pot. I don't know, there's a whole backstory. Anyway, I didn't know it looked like it was directed at me, like someone was trying to make me look bad. I don't have that kind of time in my life. I could die at any minute. So I decided to leave. I was unhappy there, but I wasn't unhappy with the company. I was unhappy with the way things were going. And maybe I wasn't fit for that role. I don't know. I think I was a good supervisor because I cared about fixing the problems of my team. But
that's a great supervisor.
But I expect my team to do their job. You know, it can't be both.
It's disheartening, I think, for any supervisor when he or she gives it 100%, which I'm knowing you the way I do. I know that anything you do, you go 100%. And in return, people are going behind your back and doing stuff and instigating problems and everything else. You know what? It doesn't take very long to get a belly full of that behavior, and you just get turned right off.
Yeah, and I just said, you know what? This isn't what I thought the job was going to be. And this is a big clue to anybody that's thinking about transitioning. Go and experience that job. I don't know how many drivers think it would be cool to get off the road and be home every night. And so they become trainers, and they found out that they're no good with people. You know, training's a whole skill set on itself. They become in operations, and they realize, man, I don't want to listen to 10 guys calling every day, whining about how they can't get into a dock or whatever. Anybody who's been in dispatch will know that 80% of the guys are whining and can't get the load there. There's only 20% that you can put the load and they won't, call you back until it's delivered. So there's different skill sets, and people don't realize that. And they don't realize, especially somebody who's been on the road for 40 years, thinks I've got it all figured out. You may have the driving part figured out. You have the people skills part possibly figured out.
It's funny you say that, because I found in a operations setting, very few people I ever brought in were excellent dispatchers that had an AZ or a CDL license. It was just a different, matter of fact, some of the worst dispatchers we ever had CDLs. Okay. And the best operations people we ever brought in were people that didn't know a truck from a bowling ball.
Well, there you got a starting point. I found it the other way. I found that the dispatchers, if I think back in my career, the dispatchers I really liked had that experience, but they didn't have 40 years of it. They had like 5 years of it, enough to know what's going on the road, but they also had other skills, whether it be telephone manner or personable. So I think you can stay too long in a job. And we've also somebody
So Bruce, are you the type of person that just had the confidence, the innate confidence in yourself to just want to go out and try and give it your best shot, or is that something that you developed over the years by exposing yourself to different things?
I think a little bit of both. I think for myself, I've got to say my dad always brought us up with a hard work ethic. I've been working since I was 12 years old. There was no sitting around the house, no free lunch anywhere. You want $5 for the movie, go mow the lawn, that kind of thing, right? There was always something to do. So I was brought up that work. I've always worked after school and all that kind of stuff. So I've always been brought up with work, and I like that. I've always liked the work atmosphere. I hated school, but I love work. I can go. I worked at A&W when I was 13. It's one of my favorite jobs. I only made $5 an hour, but it was great. So there's. I knew that when I stepped away, I knew in myself. I don't know that I know everything, but I am willing to put in the effort in the work to get it done. And if I fail, it's just because I failed. It's not because I failed because I didn't try. It's not like I said, I'm going to be a media guy and then sit on the couch with my phone and go, okay, I'm just going to do social media today. That's not being a media. You got to get customers. You got to try and make your programs better, whatever it is. There's a lot of work behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I don't have it all figured out. My wife can tell you. If you want me, I'll bring her in and she'll tell you how many times I yell at the computer. I threaten to throw it out the window, whatever it is.
You know what, though? The one thing I know about you is you're a perfectionist.
I don't think I am, but everybody tells me that. I don't think
You are. You know what? You're not happy unless things are perfect. So that's a perfectionist. And you strive for, good enough is never good enough for you.
Well, I don't know. See, so maybe it's the way I think of a perfection. The way I think of a perfectionist is somebody who does not release anything until it's totally perfect. That is me. Go back to episode 0 on our podcast. It's still up. You can listen to it, and I sounded like a jerk.
Oh, listen, you know what? I know all about that. And that's, it's funny because I remember Rico and I used to help Rico with the podcast for a long time. And then we became official because I could be a partner in the podcast because Kevin Rutherford was behind it and he had to bow out, could have nothing to do with it because of his deal with Sirius. Yeah. And I can say that now on air because Kevin and Sirius have parted ways, as we all know. And anyways, one day Rico called me up and he said, listen, I got a problem and you got to do it yourself. And I have to tell you, that was the hardest thing I have ever done, was do a podcast all by myself for the first time. Rico will do it now and then when I can't make it. And I don't know how he does it. Yeah. You break yours up a little bit with some music and stuff like that. And you have some subjects. And I was just rambling on and on. And that was, I got to tell you, that's a tough one.
No, the secret is to be prepared. The secret is I don't want it to be perfect, but I want it to always try to be, and that's the thing. If you go back to, and I'm probably the only person in that whole group that's listened to all 1,000 episodes of my podcast, because I listen to my podcast, not to see how great I am, but to see how it sounds from a listener. When you're editing and recording, your mind's in a different space than when you're listening to it. So I listen to all of my shows afterwards and I go, oh, that didn't sound right, or oh boy, you blew that one, and I don't even change them half the time. Like you could still go and hear them, but I go, okay, next time, how do I change that?
How do I improve?
Yeah, I did that. I was at Expo Cam the other day in Quebec, and I'm live streaming from there, and I realized the 1,000 graphic that I have is right over every guest's face in this video that I've got. Well, I can change it now. It was live, right? We're done now. But I can tell you, I've moved it tonight. Tomorrow at the live event, I won't be doing it. So it's learning and trying to be better. I want it to be better for the audience. I want them to be excited and go, hey man, this is fun to be around. There's lots of podcasts out there as you.
Yeah.
And if you don't try to be better, or if you think, okay, I can just dial this in every week, I don't think that's what people are looking for. And I'm always struggling. I'm always going, we've just changed a whole bunch of stuff again. After 1,000 episodes, I go, oh, this is all wrong. We're now paring it all back again because I'm seeing that this is not what the people wanted.
Right. And that's to tie that back over to trucking and the running of business as well. So it all goes hand in hand, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you have to extrapolate what works and take the information that, like Bruce was just saying, you're sitting at a dock, you're sitting at a delivery, you got time on your hands. And when you're driving, you don't have to, if you're listening to podcasts, if you're listening to audio books, if you're doing something informative, because this can put you at another level or give you an edge, especially things like negotiating. This is one of the biggest things that people talk about. How do I get better rates? How can I get better rates? Well, learn negotiating. You have an opportunity to listen to some of the best experts that are out there via podcasts, via audio books, you can go find whatever subject that it is that you have that you need to improve upon yourself. You know, you can call it self-improvement or whatever, but you can take the time because you're confined space in that truck. You got hours on in if you're driving. If you're delivering, you may have an hour or two. And so, like, if it's something that you need to be able to write down or something like that, of course, you don't want to do that while you're driving, but you might want to reserve that for the times that you're sitting or on break or something like that. But that is something that is going to add value not only to yourself, but then you can take that value and that knowledge that you just gained to add value back into your business or into another field. Like we're talking about maybe if you're looking at making a transition to something else, then that's something that you can apply and move that over to a whole entire different genre or field of expertise that you can bring and help better yourself and make yourself more prepared for something in the future.
Yeah, and it's critical. And a lot of people can do it. What are you passionate about? How many times, Chuck, you about in your company, how many times is there somebody that's really good at photography and is taking photos all the time? Has the marketing department reached out to them and said, hey, can we start using some of these photos you got? Or maybe I could start a photo business. Or, there's so many. I see it all the time. I don't know how many drivers I know that are musicians. I interviewed half of them. They're musicians or writers and something, but they're doing it all on their own. They don't know where to reach out. They're waiting for the company to come and say, hey, can we use your stuff? And the company's too busy.
The company doesn't. Here's the issue. The company managers are busy managing day-to-day problems, okay? And if they need a photographer for a photo shoot, what you'll find is most managers they'll go to somebody else in the company that will go through their relationships or whatever to find a photographer. And it's usually they'll look, years ago we would look in the Yellow Pages. May they rest in peace. Today people might look online unless they happen to have a friend or relative. But most companies have a driver or two or three or a dispatcher that love photography.
Yep.
That's a great example. And we had our Calgary operation. We had one driver. He was an interesting cat. He didn't have a home. He had a little pup trailer that in the summertime he would take his time off and go in the mountains and go fishing and take pictures and hike.
Yeah.
And then he took his time off on the road and he would just do neat things. He would go surfing or take pictures.
Yep.
And he took all sorts of great pictures. As a matter of fact, he took some pictures of our trucks, which we have on the wall. And when I sold my shares, my business partners gave me one of these pictures, and I was touched by it. It was a beautiful, beautiful shot. But yeah, if you've got a skill set and you're a truck driver, owner, operator, whether it's a musical skill set or a photography, some sort of art skill set or writing, whatever, let the people you work with know that that's your skill set and that's your passion. If you don't let people know, nobody's going to know you have that skill.
Yeah, I think some of them are worried that if they let know, the company's going to think, oh, these people are starting to look for other avenues. Maybe they want out. Sometimes it's not the same department. If you're a photographer and all of that, probably the trucking department is not the people who are.
Right.
It might be the marketing department. I know as a supervisor, though, just to give you an example how it started working in, and this is why it's important to kind of start working it in wherever you're employed now. When I became the supervisor, we had an open house every second year. We had an open house because our chemical factory was in a neighborhood, a regular neighborhood, and they wanted the neighbors to know what's going on, that the chemicals were treatment and not some other kind of chemicals or whatever. So they would task us to put on a display. And I was all fired up about that because I'm going, man, it was like marketing, right? I remember one year I did a whole comic book on our procedure for delivering chemicals to give to the kids. By the time they approved it, the event was done. But it took too long to approve it. But I did this whole comic book that I thought we could give out to the kids on that, and I made the guy a superhero and he's delivering chemical and saving the world and all that kind of stuff. And it was pretty cool. I would be in charge of, getting the guys to, okay, this truck's going to go this way. Here's a display we're going to go. We started a newsletter just for the team. Those kind of things started as a supervisor that allowed me to, use some of those skills that were on the other side of trucking and start to use them and go, how can I, and that fed into the art business, which I started my art business part-time while I was still driving, just selling to neighbors. And because people would say, hey, can you draw my cat? I said, okay. And then I found out, wow, enough people are, so when I quit to go full time, it was at Christmas time and I was getting orders like crazy. And I'm thinking, hey, this is easy. I just go to a party. People ask me for all kinds of gifts ideas and I do it. In January, it was different, but in December,
yeah.
But it's learned. And I learned everybody was going to digital. So I went back to school. Like I said, I went back to that same school. I took a Photoshop class. I treated it for the first year in my business. We had no customers. And all I did was treat it like a business. I said, okay, I'm going to go to school for 6 hours a day. I'm going to take this course on web design, this course on Photoshop, all of this kind of stuff, because those are the skills I knew I needed for the business going forward. And it took about 6 months, a year. And then I finally got all digitized and got some of the cameras and stuff that I needed. And then I was able to offer those services to others. And then it picked up. So you got to kind of be ready to do that. You can start in the truck, which is great, or you can just flop the switch like I did and hope for the best.
Well, and that's, that's hard for a lot of people because a lot of people aren't good at saving money. So they don't have that nest egg saved up so they can afford to get out of the truck and go and follow another, they've got to have a foot in both lanes, really.
Yeah.
Let me say this. This is something that I'm going to answer your question too, Rosa. Thanks for the question. One thing that we have to make sure that we do, and I don't want one of the biggest things that has caught my eye here lately with the everything with social media and stuff like that. You have a lot of quote unquote influencers out there that are selling all types of different courses and different things of this nature, asking people to come up with $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a course. And information, we're in the information age. Information is for sale. However, most of these people that are selling these courses and stuff like that, especially at those type prices, I call it the Carlton Sheets of the trucking industry, or whatever it is that it's kind of like late night real estate guru world.
Yeah.
If you have a library, one of the most things, the most precious possession that you can have, if you don't want to pay for something, library card. Go to your local library. If you can get a library card and you can go and find any author out there about most subjects that there are out there, people that I listen to, that I like, that I draw inspiration from, I really enjoy when it comes to marketing. Seth Godin is one of the best in the business. If you go back and read a lot of his stuff, he has a ton of books on audiobook. And that's digital now. Also, one of my favorite authors, Simon Sinek. He has an excellent book called "Start with Why." What is your why?
Yes.
And Simon Sinek, he does a great job. Another favorite author of mine is Malcolm Gladwell. But I try to listen to different things that'll prick my own consciousness to make me think about things in a different way than what I normally possibly would think about them, and see them from a different angle. And if you can manage to do that, sometimes you're too close. As they say, sometimes you can't see the forest for the tree. You might be too close to something, but if someone else can help expose you or give you a different perspective on something that's going on, you a whole new world. That's something that you that's been right there in front of your nose will open up to you if you just allow yourself to have an open enough mind to be able to receive that type of information and look at it from a new angle or different direction.
Yeah. Let me share a secret about for somebody who's put stuff in the past. Here's all a course is. A course is same information you could probably get for free, but organized.
Right.
And if I when I started podcasting, I'm the kind of person, if I decide I'm going to podcast, I'm going to listen to everything on podcasting. I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to read everything. I'm like this university thing like this. Like it's like a lawyer's case, right? I'm going to focus on this until I get it done. And I have done that for free. So I did that, and then I took a course. So I paid one of those ones where it's $500 a month or whatever it was on podcasting. And you know what I found out once I got in the course? I had already seen everything.
I already knew everything that he already taught.
So the way that and this might be helpful. People think, I've got podcasts. People think you just subscribe to a podcast. I subscribe to very few podcasts. I probably got about 5 shows on my playlist, and that's about, those are regular ones I listen to. But here's how I choose a podcast. I go by what I want to learn. If I decide today that I want to learn sales, I put sales in the podcast app, and it'll bring up all the shows on sales. And you pick a couple, and some are bad. One guy, I was laughing so hard, he said, I couldn't sell you a lawnmower and he's like me, he doesn't know anything about tools. So I was laughing like crazy. I'm agreeing with everything on this guy. And I found sales ones. I found videos, YouTube. People think, I got to be on YouTube to learn YouTube. No, there's YouTube podcasts that you can learn while you're at the gym, and then you can go and apply that later or take notes.
Right.
Yeah.
I find people are lazy, and they go, you know what? If I get the course, it's going to be all laid out to start to finish. Don't be lazy. Do your homework on your own. Most of this information is free out there. You just need to put it together and find the person that you believe in, and then follow their track, right?
And even if and you just said the key word, most people are lazy, because even if the information is very solid in a lot of these courses and stuff like that, most people lack the follow through to complete it from start all the way to finish.
Yep.
And that's the thing about it. You got to hold, at the end of the day, you got to hold yourself accountable. It's just like delivering that load when you pick it up and seeing it all the way through to completion on delivery and getting those bill of lading signed.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you follow it all the way through to the end.
Execution is key. If you don't, you can learn all you want, but you're not going to be any further ahead. You got to execute it, and I'm big on.
Yes, it's funny you say that, Bruce, because I remember years ago, my wife and I took an Anthony Robbins course in Hawaii.
Yeah,
the big one. It was phenomenal, and I was lucky because I came back, and I was the second I came back, I got to use what I learned.
Hit the ground running.
But out of the 800 people there, I would say 90% of them walked out of there. They were, pardon my term, they were motivated idiots.
Yep.
They had nowhere or no idea how to use this stuff. And I was very fortunate at that time. The situation wasn't fortunate, but what I had learned the 11 days prior to coming home to a shit show, pardon my language on air, certainly helped me deal with it and helped our company to get through it.
Yeah.
So it's just be careful where you get your information from. Number one, make sure it's actually, because there's a lot of bogus information out there that is not true information. It's somebody's opinion. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that is you got to make sure that hopefully you try to do a little bit of vetting on the people that you listen to and that you prescribe to, because unfortunately, I don't think there's a law against selling information. People can put anything in a book or whatever and tell you it's a course and it's organized and sell it to you for $1,000, and if you pay for it,
Yeah, there's all those. You know what? It's like the one you talk about, that I always laugh about. Let me show you how to get rich in real estate. Well, if I knew how to get rich in real estate, I'm not telling you guys about it. Not for $1,000 or 10,000. Start at 100 grand. Maybe I'll show you if I have the secret sauce. But I'm certainly not going to fill up a room if I really know what I'm talking about for $100 a night. There's no way.
Yeah, it's funny, and I don't want to put down the. I understand where you're going, Rico. Some of those courses are crazy, but a lot of times a course will give you access to the person, to expertise. Some people do need that. Some people do need organization.
Just vet them out, because I mean, and not to cut you off, Bruce, but they're master classes. I think Apple or somebody. Hey, I enjoy cooking barbecue. I looked at a master class on how to smoke a brisket. And I learned a lot off of different little things, but things that you're interested in. But at the same time, now I didn't pay. One of the to go back to the brisket thing, not to make everybody hungry, but one of the best brisket smokers was teaching that master class. Franklin down I forget it. His Franklin Barbecue from down in Texas was the teacher of that course. Now the course was only $25. I mean, I could invest $25 on how to learn to smoke really good briskets. Now, of course, I got on his email list, and he sells barbecue pits. Right. Now, he had a barbecue pit that came out that he was selling, and I was like, hey, I'm interested in that. Let me see. But he solicited out, and it was a $10,000 barbecue pit.
I don't care. Do you know how many webinars over the years I have sat on knowing there's a pitch at the end? You're willing to give me a half an hour of decent information. I'm willing to sit through your pitch, and I'm going to say no. I already know I'm going to say no before I start. I wasn't planning on, but I am on more people's newsletter because sometimes they do give you a tip. Sometimes there is something interesting.
It only takes one idea. It only takes one idea to separate you that can send you to the stratosphere.
I tell you, one thing I see happening a lot today, I get it a lot, I'm sure you guys probably do too, is people will call me, and I'm always amazed that they'll call me, especially if they're my competitors, and go, so Bruce, how do I start a podcast on trucking? Well, I could tell you, not sure and I always wrestle that. And I've never called, I've got one friend, him and I, yeah, that's a lot. I got one friend we go to lunch with, usually every month we go to lunch, and we're both the same kind of size business, both doing the same thing, but in different industries. And right. Have conversations back and forth. If he's got a good book, he'll go, Bruce, this book is good because we talked about this last time. And sometimes it's a consulting session for one, and sometimes it's, and we just trade and forth. But it's really good. That's one person that I can actually bounce ideas off and go, what do you think about this? And not worry about it being on his radar the next week. But I don't call a lot of my friends in the industry, not that they can't answer the question or they're not. But I like to look outside of my industry. When I started the podcast, I didn't look at what podcasters were doing. I was looking at what radio guys are doing. How do radio people keep people interested for an hour when you can't see their face and you don't, there's nobody listening or whatever, right? I looked at that kind of stuff. I look at how TV personnel, I watch the news, and I don't watch the news for the news. The news is crap. But I go, how do they lay out their screens? How are they promoting their ads without saying it? What do they got? I try to mirror what I see on other industries so that I look unique when I come to the board here. And people will call me and go, Bruce, how do I do this? And I go, well, go read this book. No, could you just tell me? No, you can't. I mean, that's not how this works, right? So some initiative to go and find it yourself and just do what you do. And Russell Williams, if you want a good book, Russell Williams, Do You. That's in Russell Williams' Island Jam records from back in the day. Right. And the whole book is just about do what you do, but take influence from other people to make yours unique to other people.
Right. And it's funny because, businesses they're all alike in one way or another. Now, years ago, I discovered that I would go to restaurant shows, the big ones, and there was great people to meet there that needed trucking, but I would go to the seminars because I found them very similar businesses. In the restaurant business, you're as good as your last meal. In trucking, you're as good as your last load. You're dealing with people. And so much, so many of those seminars were dealing with people, whether it was your customer or your staff. And I learned all sorts of great stuff at restaurant shows. It's the same thing. You just, they had experts on that they were educating people in the restaurant business. They didn't think there'd be somebody from the logistics and trucking sector there, but it was great. And there's all sorts of places you can get information from.
Yeah. No, I do the same thing. I cover events for a real estate investment place. I have nothing to do with real estate investment, but you know what? A lot of the stuff they're talking about is the same stuff that I've heard on Anthony Robbins and all these other people. They're just talking about doing your best. And then the stuff about real estate, I don't really pay attention. But I probably should. It's
So
similar.
this has been, I'm looking at the time. We're going through pretty quickly here.
Unfortunately.
Really an eye-opening and enlightening conversation, because like I say, you to transition out of, a lot of people may have the dreams and aspirations to do it, and but for you to, a living, breathing example of someone that was actually successful at making the transition, and of course, we're not, success is all relative, as we always, I always try to make sure I make that clear. Success is always relative, but you seem to have made the transition and enjoy and still have possessed the passion to do what it is that you're doing, and at a high level. So that's very inspirational from the standpoint of, hopefully someone can get something from that to be able to if they're thinking, if that the thought in their mind is, I would like to do something else, I'd like to do something different, that is possible.
Well, I know lots of people, Chuck. I'm sure we know a lot of the same crowd up here. A lot of people have done it. They may have recruiting, they may have gone into safety, they might have gone somewhere else. They may not have gone into media. But a lot of them are starting to get into media. There's another one, Jamie. He's with the heavy truck reports. Same thing. He was working heavy truck part, and now he's got a successful podcast marketing but in that space, not it's in trucking, but not driver space. So there's lots of ways to do it. I'm passionate. I've always loved the industry. I think that's where you've got to start with people. People look at the money. They go, okay, what can I do over here to make a buck? Or what can I do over here to get out of the seat? I didn't think about it that way. I just thought, okay, when my wife and I started our business, I said, look, we want to be a lifestyle business. We want to travel. Our goal is to go to the Caribbean for a couple months every year. We've been doing that. I want a business that we can do from everywhere. I didn't realize I got a business that I cannot stop. I cannot take next week off and not put podcasts.
That's right.
Which is a problem for some, because some people like to shut down. But
right.
I can work a half day and still enjoy the other half. I've learned how to compartmentalize.
Yes.
I can't say it, but I can do it. So I schedule my week. I'm a media artist. People think, oh, an artist, you must be, I just wait until I get inspiration and do stuff. No, I'm very scheduled. If you saw my calendar, my wife and I share a calendar. If you saw our calendar, it's color coded. It's stuff's in there. You cannot move it the week of, all that kind of stuff. I plan out. I'm very scheduled, but people think that we're not, because I plan to go to sit in a parking lot tomorrow afternoon. That's what I'm doing at Chrome Supply Warehouse. I mean, that's actually my job for tomorrow. And most people think, wow, you must have nothing else to do. No, they're a customer, and this is how this works, right? So this is what we're doing. So but I didn't look at any of this for the money. When I started the podcast, I said, yeah, I think I can make some money at this. I didn't say I was going to be rich at this. I said I can make some money at this once we got it going. And it took 2 years. I did not make any money for 2 years, not a dime. It was all out of my own pocket. And I finally we went and bought a car. Here, if you think about it, I changed industries when I got a divorce. I left, started our career. And now when did I start making money at a podcast? When I bought a car, and I go, there's nothing in the calendar. How am I going to pay for this? And I said, you know what? I've been doing this long enough on my own. Everybody want in $100 a month. And that's how I started. And that's how and then we had 8 people that said, yes, I'm in. Whew, made the car
pay for the car.
I did it. And, and then it's just grown from there. We've created packages and all that kind of stuff, but it didn't start there. And I do enough stuff that we can make a decent lifestyle. What people don't, they think, okay, Bruce, you're just doing the podcast. They don't see me on Saturday nights drawing at a wedding. They don't see Sunday mornings drawing in a park. I probably have 5 events this week that start from Thursday until Sunday, which I'm not going to see family. I'm not going to see anything. I'm working on podcasts Monday till Tuesday. So a lot of people don't see behind the scenes.
Nobody sees, you know what? When somebody is successful, nobody or very few people see what that person does to be successful. They see that, you may have some things, or you have some time, or whatever it is that makes them feel you're successful, but they have no idea how hard and the sweat equity you have in your business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm listening to podcasts at the gym. The morning time is I do not answer any customer stuff before 9 a.m. unless it's arranged like a conference or something.
Right.
Morning time is my time. I'm either writing articles, I go to the gym, I listen to podcasts. When I get into email at 6 a.m. is a good time for your day to go down the wrong road right away, right?
Right.
So your stuff done first, and then you can get into your customer stuff where it usually goes haywire, right? So that's the way I like to work.
It's a great way. Bruce, do you and Rico, do you guys believe, and I do, but we're all different, that in order to be successful at business, you never focus on money when you're building your business. You focus on building a great company, building a great brand, and doing a great job, both for internally and externally. And I'm of the personal belief that if you do those things, the money will come. But if you just focus on the money, it'll never come. No. What do you guys think of that?
It's absolutely correct. But when you come from it, there's a mentality that you have to get your mind in order to shift from. I think it's called a poverty mentality. You have to come out of a poverty mentality, right? Because sometimes when all you know is struggle, that's so you know what I'm saying. So the thing that forces a person that they can't see anything, like I was talking about earlier. You say can't see the forest for the trees.
Right.
It's the same scenario. You're so pressure is on you so much. When the guy's making got a truck note that he's behind on, and the rates are slipping, and the only thing he's focusing on is trying to get to the next load and because all he's thinking about is the money.
Right.
But he has to think about how he can work smarter versus working harder.
Right.
It's not always about lining up and getting as many loads as you can and getting as many miles as you can to put as much, because at the end of the day, you make more money on less miles if you understand it. If you
yes.
So you have to put the focus on where it needs to be. And if you focus on delivering value, if you make yourself valuable and deliver value to enough people, and you make yourself an invaluable asset, you will be compensated for that.
Yeah,
100%.
I find the same way. And the money thing, it never stops, right? I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't matter how successful you are. They always try to make sure you can cover your bills, right? And the thing about business is you're not paid every week like a lot of other people, so you have to really kind of watch this. And I remember at the beginning, I used to watch the one ads every day. I read the one ads just in case, because I wasn't making it. I'm going, maybe there is a job out there that's going to pay $1 million to do, I don't know. But I kept that. But after a while, once you get into and you got in business, you got to be in there a couple of years for to see this.
Mm-hmm.
You see it as if you just keep going out there and just doing it and just either trying to be better, try to make those connections. I'm a big networker. I'm at everybody's events, no matter where it is. So I'm always meeting a lot of people so that hopefully when they're looking for a project, I'm top of mind. And I found over the years, we always seem to get it. And even if someone's paid us behind, you're going, oh man, I didn't get paid. Well, you know what? Hopefully that check comes in the month you really need it. You're going, that was like
Bruce, how long have you been doing the Lead Pedal Radio and Lead Pedal podcast?
2015, May 2015 is when we started. And like I say, we didn't bring any sponsors on until 2017. And it makes money. We're not rich. I don't want anyone to think we're rich, but my wife's got a translation business. I have an art business as well. The three of those things, the two of us working it, we work very hard. Our kids are all grown. There's another aspect. I don't have to worry about babies or anything like that. So I can work 7 days a week. And it sometimes it does get frustrating and you go, boy, it's 7 days a week, but I enjoy it pretty well, everything I do. Right.
And I really do believe if you enjoy your work, you never have to work a day in your life. I really do believe that.
Yeah. So I'm working Saturday, but I'm drawing at an event for 4 hours. So I'm going to draw, I'm going to talk to people, and drawing is not a bad day. It's not like I'm digging a ditch or anything like that. I'm drawing cartoons. And then I will come home, but I'll be exhausted. But you know what? It's 4 hours of the day. Like, it's not like I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and I didn't come home until midnight. So it's a little bit different for people on the road. I get that. But now, with today's hours of service and stuff, I remember doing my schoolwork in the truck stops, in the service plazas. We were lucky enough, the company I worked for had hotels, so I could, be in a hotel room and do my work. But I told my teacher, I said, look, there's no way I can make it here 6 hours a week. I'm on the road. I will make it here for 2. There's one night I knew I could make it every week because of the way our schedule was. I said, I can make it one night a week for 2 hours, but I promise you, I will never be turning things in late. You'll never have to chase me for work. And I always just kept handing in the work. So I kept doing it. People used to laugh at me doing it in a restaurant or whatever, or if you got an hour off, you don't just sit in a parking lot, you go
Get
and do
the work done. That's right.
that's the way it works. I still do that to this day.
Yeah, I get it. I can't rest until the work is done.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Bruce, let everybody know where they can find you, because we running up against it. We don't talked it up, but we definitely running up against it. So let everyone know where they can find you and how they can get in contact with you if they want to ask you any questions or pick your brain any further.
Sure. Well, I just want to say a shout out to this the person that's been on, Rose, has been one of you person. I haven't had a chance to read all the comments, but I'm seeing some of them, and I think she's left based on one of the comments. But
yeah.
Thank you, Rose, for all the nice words. She's said some nice things there, so I appreciate it. As far as getting hold of me, probably go to the leadpedalpodcast.com. It's the best way. There's an email link there if you want to email me through, if you want to be a guest on the show, anything like that. Just follow us on social. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. just follow me and you'll find out where we're going. But we're doing a lot of tours this summer, a lot of stops celebrating 1,000. Everybody, Chuck, you and Rico need to take a picture. You can write 1,000 on a piece of paper, take a picture, and put it on our fan club. We're trying to get 1,000 pictures by November 1st of all of our supporters, fans.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Rico and I are meeting up in Atlanta in July, and we'll be together. There'll be one big tall guy, one short little guy, and there'll be a lopsided banner, okay?
That's fine. And Chuck, you and I need to get back together too. We've been planning a dinner date there for a while there.
Yeah, we got to, you know what, I'm heading to, for our listeners, I am heading out to the American Truck Historical Society convention in Reno. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. If any of our listeners are going to be there, just send me a private direct message on Instagram, and I'll meet you at the show.
Yeah, just if I could add too, just because you said that, we are going to be at the Iowa 80 show in Walcott.
Oh, are you?
July 13th to 15th. So if anybody's there, come and say hello. We're not gonna have a booth or anything, but we will be there for the whole time. Looking forward to see Shenandoah.
That one's on my. I got to tell you, I've been to the Iowa 80 truck stop. You can't go on 80 and pass Walcott without stopping in. That's a kind of a rite of passage.
Right.
Like Bruce, I think you can probably identify with this. Just like many years ago, if you were leaving Toronto, you had to stop at the Queensway truck stop, which wasn't really a truck stop. It was a shitty diner on the Queensway for a lousy meal and a great cup of coffee. You just can't drive by Walcott without it. But it's been on my bucket list, and it's just not one of the things I've been able to take off yet. But I guess next year will be my year for Walcott.
We decided to do. I had a friend whose wife took his credit card away because he passed Walcott too many times.
I can understand that.
Yeah, no more for that. He ran west. He had to change routes actually. So.
I wish there were more Iowa 80s in this world, because I think, and we've talked about it before, and we should actually just do a show on it. We would have a lot more drivers if we had facilities like that all over North America to look after our truck drivers.
Yeah. Rico, thanks for before we're running out. So I'm going to say thank you before I let Rico's go.
No, thank you, Bruce, for taking the time out to come on and join us, and thank you for being so gracious with the information, but sharing the information that you shared with us tonight, because sometimes it's a lot of different things that are out here that are available to people. And sometimes they just need that little push, that little inspiration, to see somebody else that did it, that came from the same walk of life that they did. And that's maybe enough to kind of inspire them to kind of get them to get the wheels going in the direction they need to go in. So thank you for sharing the information with us tonight.
Welcome. I'm sure lots of talented people out there.
Well, thank you so much, Bruce.
Thank you, Chuck.
So Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took a little time to hang out with us. Chuck, so if you want to get in contact with Chuck, email him. He's gonna be at the show this weekend, but email Chuck. Chuck, what's the email address again?
Yeah, my new one is chucksnow280@outlook.com. Send me any message you want with your phone number, and I'll probably just be calling you back.
How come you have an email that says "see on the flip flop"? Like, how come you don't have? Really? See on the flipflop.com.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and God bless you. Good night.
Catch you on the flip flop. God bless.